What is up, and welcome back to the Centering Esports podcast presented by Alt. This is episode 281, and it is the best episode ever. We have Yikes of the Week. Overwatch League is doing a roster massacre, a roster dumping, if you will, so we will discuss that. The Cold War beta finally hit PC and all consoles. So Nuge and I played some. We will give our first impressions again. And a little bit Nerd Street Gaming, Renegades, Valorant tournament as well, including e-news to wrap everything up with at the end of the show. But before we get to any of that, I got to tell you about our buddies at Alt Esports. That's ULTesports.com. You need to go check them out because they make the best top-of-the-line esports apparel that money can buy, and then some. We were actually on their Instagram live that they do every Friday and give up a juicy discount code for a limited time. So if you were there, appreciate you stopping by. You would have gotten a clean 40% off. That's right. They don't joke around with the sales that they give out on their live stream. So make sure you see that every Friday. Also follow them on Twitter because they also tweet it out there. They did a end of the season sale for their Overwatch and Call of Duty League attire. Could have picked up a clean, fresh looking Overwatch League Doodle pocket tee, one of my favorites, the 90s apparel, anything out there. The 101 Burglars hoodie brought to you by your very own TCR boys. You can get all of that at altesports.com.
Hey, this is AKM from the Dallas Fuel, and you're listening to The Centering.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back to another edition of The Centering, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. This is episode 281, coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date is October 18th, 2020. The time, 8:45 p.m. Central Time. And this is going to be, I say this all the time, but I truly think this will be the best episode ever. Follow us on Twitter at The Centering. Join our Discord. The link is in the description there for you, and be a part of the conversation. And everything else there. All that fun stuff. YouTube, get on that. Subscribe. Have some fun stuff coming out on YouTube here in a little bit. But everything else you need to know. My name is Tim. Hello, I'll be your captain for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend. It's Anuj. What's up?
Why do I feel like we're doing this at 2 a.m. today?
Long day.
Long day.
Long day. But that's the life of a gamer, Dad. The life
just
of
the dad part, actually.
I mean, really, yeah. It doesn't matter if you play games. It's there are some Sundays when we do this show where I really wish we did it earlier. I won't lie to you. But then there are also some Sundays where I wish we just did it later. And sometimes we do. So I guess it's a pick your poison type of thing. But hey, I'm ready because we did have a fun weekend of esports and just good old gaming itself. Update on the League of Legends on my side because we have some listeners who want to play with me to try to teach me the ropes. I haven't played yet. I downloaded it from last episode. That's step one. Step one was downloading it. Step two, I logged in to open up all of my Twitch skin packs. That's a good second step. That was a good priority.
It helps determine what character to play.
Yeah.
Like, where can you look good?
I'm judging it off of cup sizes. Whatever female character have the biggest boobs, I'm gonna pick them.
Don't get used to Ari. She's already mine.
Okay. Which one's that?
She has the little. She shoots the orb out.
Okay. All right. Right now, first glance, the pirate chick is taking a commanding lead.
She's badass. She's really good.
Commanding lead. And it's also the only champion that I have. So that also helps. So I might just master her. But I guess I'll have to learn some too, because if in our challenge we do picks and bans, which I assume we would, that would
No,
suck.
we can't do that after I just said my statement.
No, it's a smoke screen.
No picks and bans.
That's definitely not who you play. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But that just to let the listeners know who want to play Overwatch or League of Legends with me, it will happen. It will. Just let me get my rank this season for Valorant so I can stop caring, and then I'll get on the League of Legends grind. That's kind of how it works. Also, it's just, maybe I'll let you talk to my wife. Maybe I can get some games.
They're not short games, They're like
That's
solid 40-minute plus
Yeah.
games. So
Although I did watch some Worlds this weekend and they weren't terrible. 20, 30-minute games here and there, but I did do some homework. I did watch a little Worlds, so I'm a little bit more understanding of I get the game. I get the concept of the game. It's playing it. Like, people are like sending me YouTube links of explaining like League of Legends for Dummies. I get it. I've watched it. I've played Dota. Like, I get it. But playing is entirely different. Like the little nuances of like, okay, you got to go top lane, and then, now we've hit this stage of the game, so now you need to rotate and push forward with us, and that's where I'm rusty on.
see, the way to do it, Tim, Google the build 20 seconds before you get in.
Yeah.
Done.
Well, see, and this is where I think Dota did so well, is you can get away being new in Dota, because in Dota you can set up builds in the game, right? And then it will flash like, hey, you've leveled up. This is according to the build you selected. This is what you need to get right now. Oh, all right, now you need to go to the store and get these. And like, it will tell you that as you're playing. So it's almost like although you might be new, it helps cushion the blow to the team when you're like, hey, at least I have my timing down a little bit. So I can't wait. I've only heard such positive, nice things about the League community. I can't wait to hop in.
Yeah, they're going to treat you well. They'll welcome you with
can't wait to hop in solo queue, and they probably are like, oh, sweet, this guy's account is level 4. He's probably a Smurf. And it's like, oh, no.
Nope, first time playing in 10 years.
Yeah, you see how I have like the 10-year coin or whatever, a 10-year icon? Yeah, yep, that's right. I had the game for 10 years, only account level 4. So sorry about your day.
If the role was reversed and we were in CS and we saw that, we would also rage on that individual.
Yeah, 100%.
How do you have a 10-year coin and you are bronze 1?
Yeah, 100%. We make fun of those people. I am now the person I make fun of. So, I guess I'd rather have the 10-year coin, 4 hours played, and be bronze than the guy who has a 10-year coin with 3,000 hours played and still bronze, right? Like, yeah. That's worse when you see someone who has thousands of hours into a game and you're still bronze. That's when you're like, buddy,
you're truly playing for fun.
This just isn't for you. Like, this game is not for you. Heroes of the Storm still has like 12 people playing it. Just go try it out.
Queue up for that one match.
Go try it out. R.I.P. Heroes of the Storm. I liked you. Actually played in a league for Heroes of the Storm, believe it or not. All right, let's get into the show, though, because we have quite a bit to get to. Let's start with Yikes of the Week for new listeners. This is our weekly segment that we do every Sunday recording for Monday's show. We go over our biggest moments of the week that made us go, yikes. So, Anuj, I'll start with mine because I actually have 2. I have a top secret yikes. I didn't even put it in the notes.
Okay, love it.
Top secret yikes, so I know not to tell you. My first yikes, though, is just a confirmation on why I will never be console gaming again and why I have to be PC Master Race for the rest of my life, because it has been announced by Sony that they will now record your party chat and make bans based off of those conversations.
Yeah, so I just put in my pre-order for the Xbox, Definitely going to be going the Xbox route here. That's pretty crazy because I mean, just to think, Tim, of some of the conversations we like, I don't recall them, but I know we had them, like in the sense of not you and me personally, but groups of people that we've played with. Like, there's been some shit that's been said that there's no way. Like, no, I'm not running for president anytime soon. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, if they're recording party chat, no one will be running for president. No one will be running for president.
Like 2038 would be
Man.
the first time there would be no candidates running for president.
Like, I can just imagine those late nights chilling with the boys. You're in a private party chat and you're just shooting the shit, acting dumb. The things that were said when I was like 13-year-old with my other 13-year-old friends, like just dumb. And it's like, whatever. No one else is here. It's just us. Let's just be funny. Oh, these poor people. These kids growing up, they didn't stand a chance.
This is why PC truly is the master race.
Yeah.
Like this reason right here. If you didn't believe it before, gentlemen, this is your reason right now.
As Khan says in chat, some of those conversations can go really far south. Rip. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like, stay hard, all of our PlayStation friends and party chat, because I felt like half the reason I'm not banned in things is because they couldn't trace. Like I've always said, what is the number one rule of being toxic, Anuj? Number one rule.
Don't let anybody hear you.
You keep it all in voice comms because they can't report you on that. If you type it, they can report you and see it. Apparently that's not the case anymore. So yikes. And I even think Sony has also like already said something about like, well, we're looking for feedback on ways to improve this feature. Oh, it's a feature. That's what we're calling it.
Yeah, it's called remove it. That's
Right.
how you improve this.
Like, okay. All right. Thank you.
Sony's player base just got cut in half very quickly.
Forcefully or not. Yeah, that's going to be the turning point, right? When they do this and realize how many people they have to ban and say like, oh, we cannot afford this. Like, we are.
The only positive is like the new account numbers will be really high for PlayStation.
Right. Love to see the first ban wave numbers for this one. All right. What is your yikes?
Mine comes from the world of orgs, Tim. So not directed at a game this time, which is a nice little change. But, recently Gilded Esports has been known to raise a lot of money, right? There's been a lot of talk around Gilded Esports. They recently released their IPO, which allowed them to, have people buy in and really kind of pushing the needle in terms of raising money without accomplishing anything, right? Like there's nothing that they've done that would make you think, hey, this is going to be big.
Very esports of them. Very
esports of them. Yeah, raised a ton of money, accomplished zero so far. The one thing they had on their side, Tim, was David Beckham. David Beckham's an investor. Like he believes in them, Tim. Like he believes in them so much. He put in $350,000 of his own money to be a part of it. Well, it has come to light that they are also in return for that $350,000, giving him $20 million over the next, I believe X number of years, like span it out over like 5+ years or so. But he will be getting his return on an investment will be $20 million. And that will be coming from other investors' money to pay that out. Like there's only so many ways that you're really able to do that. And so for me, this is just a big yikes because it came out after they released the IPO. So after people were dumping in money and getting excited and hearing that they've raised so much, like this is your time to be a part of it, right? Then it comes out with, oh yeah, by the way, that $350K we got from David is actually his first payment this month that we're having to give back to him.
I'm not going to come out here and pretend like I know how investments and things like that work, but I don't think that's how they're supposed to work. I don't think an investment is supposed to all of a sudden be, like quadruple.
Be 30 times what it is.
Yeah, like what what an esports thing for them to do. And the fact that it got out, like, these guys are like, who, like, how? Like, this was not supposed to happen. So
let's go through our recent list of fires and figure out which one leaked this information.
what a bad look. What a bad look. But I love it. I mean, it makes you wonder how many times this does happen and doesn't get out now, right? Like all those times you're like, why is this person investing? Oh, it's because they're getting paid $20 million to do it, essentially.
It's like Paladins.
That's exactly like Paladins, right? Everyone's talking about Paladins. This is a great, man, look at all these big orgs involved with Paladins, man. This is great. And it's just like, you don't think they're getting paid to have a team in Paladins? Like, okay, sure, man, whatever. Yeah, $350,000 investment for $20 million in return. Good on you, David Beckham. Good on you.
Good investment, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid investment right there.
That's a solid investment.
Do you
I
think
would
he
sell
actually,
everything I own to go and take that same deal
do
right
you
now.
think there is no chance he sees that $20 million though? The full.
No, they'll be gone in a couple of years. A
That's
year,
generous.
tops.
Yeah, a couple
Yeah.
years I would almost say is generous, especially after this coming out. But who knows? What was their sales pitch? Let me guess. Their sales pitch was probably somewhere along the lines of they wanted to be the first of their kind in the industry, creating a new wave of content and fans interaction. That's probably somewhere in their mission statement, like every other new esports venture that comes up.
So we'll see what they do. They could surprise us, and maybe this is the best thing.
Yeah,
but
I
it's
mean,
just
maybe,
when this
right?
comes out, it's one of those like, yikes, you know?
Yeah, true. That is very true. Because even with David Beckham, like even though it's a funny yikes, if he actually does care about the investment and working with them, that's not a bad name to have on it.
No.
So
They'll probably have the #1 FIFA team in a few months.
because he's also, I should probably know this. David Beckham, he's the Miami team, right? Orlando FC. Isn't he the MLS? He's bringing it here. 99% sure it's David Beckham who has that soccer team that's coming up in Orlando or Miami, somewhere down there. So yeah,
never really followed MLS.
Well,
EuroLeague we can talk about, Premier League.
Miami, yeah, okay. Yeah. Prong says Miami, so yes, maybe some partnership there or something. Who knows? All right, my other super top secret yikes, Anuj, and I will use it to segue into our next topic, which is our Cold War first impressions again. This is a judge-free zone, okay? This is an opinionated show. We do not take a headline and regurgitate the article in a 5-minute YouTube clip with no original thought. We don't do that here. This is a judge-free, opinionated show. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to hear from the listeners. I already refunded it.
Did you?
I already refunded Cold War. It was a yikes.
Oh, Lord.
The whole beta was a yikes. I couldn't, in good faith, Anuj, I couldn't do. I know I told you like 2 days ago that I'm like, yeah, bro, I think I'm going to return it.
It was already returned, wasn't it?
It was, I mean, I was Googling how to return as I was saying that. Yes, I had to refund it. Multitudes of reasons we'll get into. I tell myself every year, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to buy this year's Call of Duty. You can't convince me. I'm not going to do it. It's going to be the same trashy game that dies in 3 months on the MP side. I'm not going to do it. And every year I find myself doing it, and then every year I'm saying this game is amazing for 3 months, and then yet again I stop playing it, right? Every year. But this year was different because the beta was so horrendous in my opinion. It wasn't fun at all. I do a very simple test, and out of 10 maps, afterwards I ask myself, was that fun? Yes or no? It was like 8 out of 10 was a no. And Anuj, Cyberpunk is like coming out in like a month. So if I'm spending $60 on a game, it's going to be Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I mean, Cyberpunk's a must
I'm going to wait. I will get Call of Duty, but when it goes on sale in like 2 months around Christmas.
Well, so look, the benefit of Call of Duty is you're going to get Warzone for free, and you're going to get zombies for free, right? Both of
Yeah.
those are going to be free to play. So if you still want to get a taste of it, you're able to do that there. Now, obviously, the disadvantages are your guns carry over from MP to those game modes, right? So to level up a gun in Warzone is like super hard to do unless you really frag out often. However, I do agree with you in the sense of like I haven't enjoyed the beta so far. It's been it's been an okay experience. Like I haven't hated it, but I haven't really like loved it. I'm not fiending to go back and play, right? I played the beta a couple of times now. I got my guy to level 10 so I could get the free collector's piece when the game launches or whatever. So I did that to make sure I hit that and that's it. But visually, I don't think the game I don't think the maps honestly are maybe it's my age. So I'm gonna preface this statement with me being an older gamer. I found it like super difficult to spot people when I thought it was like easier to do that on PlayStation for some reason. Like because I played the beta on PlayStation, I honestly had like I thought it just played a little bit better. On
Yeah.
PC, maybe it's because there's so many settings, so you got to tune your settings to really maximize the performance of your PC. But I consider myself to have a fairly high-end PC, so I wasn't like too worried about I need to change this and lower that. Like it should just be kind of be good out of the box, with what I'm running. And that really wasn't the case. And I found it difficult to really see people on a lot of the maps. Cartel, for example, has these stupid shrubs across the whole map in the middle of it, and if somebody's running through, good luck seeing them. It would be trying to chase somebody through a crop field. Like it's just not going to happen. And I just I don't know. Like the guns felt fine to me, but the iron sights suck ass. So you have to upgrade and get out of that hellhole that you kind of start off in. But yeah, the maps were okay. I you
Mm,
know I,
I you
the one
know
that
I think okay is generous for some of these maps. Now,
for some
I will say, okay, so Call of Duty, some things that are the same with every Call of Duty, and it is part of it. The guns are always like you have to give kind of a cushion because until you get all the attachments, the guns suck, right? Until you find like what the pros are using to mimic them, that's one way. On PC, I do agree it was very difficult to see. I did adjust my field of vision. Now, unfortunately, I had to make it lower than what I normally play on. Like every other game, I'm like 103 FOV, and I can see fine. But this, I mean, I was, my nose was touching my monitor, and I still wasn't seeing them. Now, looking online, it seems like a lot of people are having this issue. So I think it's partly because there's a ton of head glitch spots where they can see you, but you can't see them because of viewpoints and things like that. So that's obviously an issue that they're going to have to work on. So I don't think it's just you. So I know you're old. I know you're like 46, but
it's still an elite gamer, right?
I mean,
for an 18-year-old,
elite.
Like, I could play Fortnite at a pro level probably.
If you
That
wanted
says
to.
something. If I wanted to.
If you wanted to, I believe it. So yeah, there's a few things like map wise. I will like to see how the pros play on them because obviously being 4-on-4 again this year when you're playing the beta and it's like what 8-on-8 or 6 on whatever it is, it's chaos. Absolutely chaos on these maps. People are coming from every direction it seems like.
Yeah.
Miami looks cool, plays like ass.
Miami looks like the coolest map. Right? Like you get into it and you're like this is kind of badass looking,
Yeah.
and then you're like wait a minute, like everyone is on every single side of me. You feel like you mentioned it when we were playing. Like it feels like I'm running down the middle of Piccadilly if you try to take mid on that map. But yeah, like obviously I'm not coming out of here impressed.
Right.
It's a game I'm still gonna play because it's Call of Duty. Like I'm going to give it a chance, and it's more fun to play those games early on rather than trying to get in a couple months later. In my mind, just because everybody starts off kind of shitty in the sense
now,
of.
see here though too, like Killer Waffle says in Twitch chat that when in doubt, turn everything to low settings. but you actually told me off the show that you did, right? Like you
I
have
had
a much higher
majority of my
NPC.
settings were on low, like
Yeah.
the texture filtering and crap that like I know would really help performance.
Yeah.
Like I turned that down quite a bit,
And
know.
you're
And
rocking a 2080.
yeah, I have a 2080.
So I mean, it should
And
definitely
2080 with a i9, like it's got like the works, right? The only thing that I can upgrade now at this point is getting like a 3000 series graphics card. Everything else is what you would consider a very high end PC at this point. And yeah, I had a tough time. Like, granted, I'm also, so mind you guys, I have an ultra wide. I also have a 27-inch, like 165 hertz monitor as well. But I like to game on my ultra wide, so that does lower the performance. I understand that, but I should still be able to push easily like 120 plus, in
Yeah.
terms of frames. And I was kind of lingering around like 85, 80 to 85 for the most part. But that wasn't my biggest issue. Like the visually, I didn't, like I said, we had a tough time seeing people. The maps were like okay, I didn't enjoy. I don't want to sit here and blame SBMM because it started off obviously really well, and then it just gets harder and harder as you
Right.
go, right? You slay out early, and you're like, oh, this is like a fun game, right? And then as you get a little deeper in, it's like, God, like everybody in this lobby is good,
Yeah.
and that kind of
It is.
sucks for Call of Duty. Like, I'm kind of just
Well,
looking to.
because like Call of Duty is a game that you want. I mean, it's a game designed to frag out on. That's why they have kill streaks that go up to 15, 20 kills, right? Because they
Like the
expect you.
biggest 125. Like in order to do that, you got to be playing against shitters to some
Right.
extent.
I
right?
can't do that against guys that are all my equal skill. It's just not going to
Yeah.
happen. So I do
No.
understand like they're kind of killing a part of like their identity by doing that. But that like we've talked about skill-based matchmaking in the past. I'm on the fence still with it. It's like I get both sides of the argument. For me, I'm against it, but that's also because I get to play very
Well, you and I are both in the same boat. We just want ranked play and then like a casual game.
yeah,
mode,
right.
Right? Like
in
that's all.
in ranked, I'm try hard. On rank, I'm playing every match like I'm on the main stage.
Yeah.
Right? On
You should
ranked,
be.
I'm there to win it. Unranked, bro, I'll run around with you with a rocket launcher and a shotgun. I don't care. Right? Like
And like when Call of
cares?
Duty doesn't have a ranked mode, the whole game should feel like unranked. Right? It shouldn't feel like you're always playing ranked. Then you can't say like, oh yeah, all of our games are ranked mode. Like that's
Right.
not how it works.
No,
No.
no. Now, from a playing standpoint, now I will say this: I felt like after the PlayStation beta a couple weeks ago, we both said, "Wow, this felt great. This felt really good compared to Modern Warfare." It's completely. I've done like a complete 180 after playing this last weekend. Which, by the way, friendly reminder, they are playing on PC. Right? It's PC with controller. So this is more or less what the pros are going to be with. Maybe it's because my expectations were low when jumping on the PlayStation. Maybe it's because I haven't used a controller in so long. I just felt like, okay, if something dumb happened, it was probably me and not the game screwing up. But man, the hit reg felt so off. I felt like I was dying around corners so often when it's just like I felt like I was in the clear, and then you watch the kill cam and it's like I'm still sitting wide in the open, even though on my side I was 5 feet behind the wall. Like that happened to me a lot more often.
I had that too, where I was like, I'm running into a building and I'm dead, and in the kill cam, I'm not in the door yet, but where I died, my body is laying inside,
Yeah.
And so it's like, wait a minute, which one is it? I thought the time to kill was also like a little slower than I would have liked. Like, maybe it's because we're just coming from Modern Warfare, where the time to kill is one of the fastest it's ever been, but it feels dramatically slower than Modern Warfare. And I don't know how much I necessarily like. Like, I kind of want a good balance there, and maybe this will work out to be fine. Again, like this is why this is first impressions, because I'll get another opportunity to like dive in and
Right.
play this and play it more in depth. But early thoughts, like
I
like,
mean, it could
just-
be, the game comes out, you tell me, Tim, it's all changed. This is the greatest game of all time, and I'll pick it up. I'll pick it up. But just, I have kids now, and my son looks at me as a role model in life. And I just, in good faith as a father, as my 1-year-old hero, I cannot spend $60 on another Call of Duty that I know is going to suck. I just can't do it.
I'm really curious to see what get the pro reaction after this weekend playing on PC. I know we got a lot of reactions after the PS4 one. I want to see if any of them change. Like, because again, maybe a lot of this is just a Tim and I thing, right? Where we are getting older and this is not as appealing. I don't think that's it though. Just so you know, like I
No.
truly don't. Like, because I've enjoyed the Call of Duty franchise for 15, 10 whatever years.
3, 2, 1, go!
Okay. And welcome back to the Centering Esports podcast. For those who were tuning in live, you would have seen a sudden cutoff. For those listening on the podcast, thanks to the magic of post-production editing, you would have no idea that yesterday, October 18th, in the middle of recording, I lost power for like hours. I didn't think I was going to make it through the night, so thank God, through the power of Gaben, I am here to tell the story. I live to tell the tale. But, yeah, so that is why the show or this episode is delayed one day. So to catch everyone up to speed, it is now October 19th, 2020 at 10:25 p.m. I think, if I remember correctly, we were pretty much done with our Call of Duty Talkanooge. I think you were just wrapping up your thoughts, and that was it. Long story short, the beta sucked. I refunded it, and I'll pick it up at a later date.
Yeah, I mean, I'm keeping it. I'll play it. I'll be the test dummy for us. I think they have a chance to make it better and make it right, fix the way it runs a little bit. Let's just gonna have to sit back and see though. Not jumping for joy right now, unfortunately.
No. All right, so there's that. Let's get into then the other discussion, which I think this is sets a record for 2020. 2 weeks in a row that we are going to talk some Overwatch because, Anuj, we are having, I don't know if you want to call it a reckoning. That's what the Bible is, right?
Yeah, I mean that, or it's like an exodus to a certain extent for a lot of these teams.
I'm calling it a roster dump is what I'm going to call it, because we are seeing, I don't think I've ever seen, look, they're giving Call of Duty off-season a run for its money when it comes to dumping players and dumping rosters and hitting the restart button. And so I wanted to...
different though, right? Like, big difference in the sense of with Call of Duty, you have a shuffle. It's not like 25 players are retiring at the same time or just losing their job, right? Like, they're reshuffling because, hey, a new game's coming out. It's going to play a little different. Plays more like Black Ops, so let me play with these guys. Like, this feels the same, but it's very different.
Yeah, and there's also more of like a dark cloud over it, right? Where everyone else, like for Call of Duty, you're so excited for it's almost like, ooh, the season's done. Let's get ready for this roster shuffle, right? Like, you get excited for it. Here, everyone's like, whoa, let's pump the brakes here, Overwatch. Like, there's still going to be a season 4. Like, let's calm down now. So I want to discuss this a little bit because there is some, like I say, ominous, dark theories floating around. So first off, though, you are having teams clean house. Dallas Fuel has dropped everyone but one player. Houston Outlaws have dumped, I don't think their entire roster, but a good amount. Veterans of the roster, Linkser, as we've known. They've also had some players leave during the season. LA Gladiators, I think, have dropped like 4 or 5 guys, including, again, Big Goose fan favorite and everyone there, McGravy, who
just moved up like this past year.
It's like he was on a contenders league for Envy, and then he might have touched the Fuel roster maybe for a half a second, and then went to LA to play on the Overwatch League side of things, dropped OGE. So you're seeing these teams drop what you would consider the best in the league. Now, I will say this. Overwatch, I think more than any esport, and maybe you agree, maybe you don't, the fans get caught up with fan favorites, and it kind of clouds their judgment on who's a good player and who do you just like more. Like where Counter-Strike and other games, I feel like you have fan favorites, but people will also realistically admit, like, yeah, this guy's not the greatest alive. Like,
He's a washed-up pro at this point or something. You
or
know,
yeah,
like,
or yeah,
you kind of know when time is running out a little bit more so in a game like CS. You've seen the skills diminish. Yeah, like OGE, I think is like the perfect example of this, right? OGE has been a long time fan favorite, but really hasn't performed at like the highest level, over the past really 2 seasons. You've kind of seen his play decline. So, as great of a person as he is, and as much as he's loved by the teams he's been on, including Envy and his most recent team, um, it kind of makes sense too that they would be looking to make a change because it really hasn't worked out for them.
yeah, and you're absolutely right. And that's like with Dallas, right? I know as far as just living in Dallas, right? The Fuel and their fans they love AKM, they love Trill. He played with their farm system and moved up, right? Noni Oni God has been here. Note, he was a fan favorite, a huge diva player when he moved over from Boston. Like they have all these guys that they're loving and they're like, wow, how could this happen? And it's like, well, again, this is a business and results talk. A lot of these teams have expectations of at least being in contention for the championship. The Fuel have been at least discussed since day one of the Overwatch League that they should have always have been like a top team given their resume and never lived up to it. So sometimes you just have to hit that reset button and start fresh.
I'm a little curious though, like unlike other esports, farm systems are generally there and in place to move up, right? Whether that's Counter-Strike, although we've seen it like fall off on the NA side, right? But that's kind of always been a key staple for Counter-Strike, whether you're grinding through the ESEA or FPL ranks, you kind of find the young talent that shows up. Call of Duty, see it through the amateur scene, and you see MVPs come out of it, like Simp. I know Shotzi wasn't playing amateurs, but still a new player kind of coming in and taking the league by storm. Envoy, another example of a young and up and comer. With Overwatch, I'm a little curious to what this shuffle does, right? In that retrospect, because is this just going to be taking these players, recycling them, figuring out maybe this is a better pairing, so now we'll take this guy from this team, this guy from this team, and kind of mesh them all together and just see what works with the same faces? Or is there a young farm system that all these teams are about to go poach from? Like that, I'm really unsure about.
And that's an excellent point, Anuj, because that was going to be the next thing I said. Once again, proving that we are just truly in sync with each other at all times. Because you're absolutely like I said before, I get why teams are wanting to clean house. I get why they're unhappy with their roster. The suspicious side of me, the conspiracy, put on your tinfoil hat side of me, though, is thinking, okay, this is a lot, though. I get Dallas, I get Gladiators to an extent. But
Houston, probably.
Houston has been struggling. But then you have guys like Miami or Florida. London has dropped their roster. The Spark have dropped their roster. That's a lot of vacancies now that you're going to have to fill. This is where people are getting their theories then, because you're absolutely right. The farm system is not as deep for Overwatch. Contenders has taken a hit as far as like top talent goes, right?
Well, all these teams dropped their contender teams last year. So like how many contender teams are really left standing at this point with an organization backing them, I should say.
And a lot of the guys that you might think would be better to pick up, not all these players dropping are sticking with Overwatch. Some are, like McGravy has announced that he is staying with Overwatch. He is looking for a team. But guys like Gamsu, he's said that he's going to go back to compete in League of Legends. AKM has announced that he's looking for a Valorant team. Unco, I believe, also announced from the Fuel. Trill, another Fuel player that has announced he wants to move over to Valorant, looking for a roster.
It feels like a 50-50 split between those staying and those really like departing the scene, quote unquote, retiring from Overwatch. It really does feel like a 50-50 based on the players that we've kind of seen come out publicly so far.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if you had it all down on a piece of paper, it'd be somewhere around there. Now, you also have this, though. And this is where you get your tinfoil hat on.
I think I know where you're going, and this is a beautiful thing, Tim. Go ahead. Are we going regional?
Oh, it's a little bit to it.
Okay.
Is with the rumor changes that are coming up with the league next year. They want to They want to keep the regional split. They want London and they want New York back in NA, with possibly moving up Korean contender teams for the Asian side. So that explains why maybe London dropped their roster.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was more of a kind of 100 Thieves CS scenario where the players were like, we don't want to go live in America. We want to stay home in Korea if at all possible. And maybe Cloud9 is like, we'll honor that. We're going to drop you guys now, though, so we can start filling in this gap, right? There's also, though, the delayed start issue, where now Overwatch is thinking about starting out in April as opposed to January, February, when they typically start. And so now these teams are cutting cost to save money throughout the longer off season. Now that's kind of
makes
more
sense.
It does. And this is where you kind of get into the controversy of there is no players union in the Overwatch League, which, timeout. That's a little bit on the players' fault, right? You're 3 seasons in a franchise league.
Can't be like, now it's an issue, so now we should have done this. Like you should have been on. This should have been a priority from day one, but you were so excited that a league was forming, and you liked some of the guidelines that were being set by Blizzard in terms of minimum pay and contract duration. So you were like, hey, they're going to take care of us, right? Like, this is a big thing, and Blizzard seems to be doing it. Activision Blizzard seems to be doing it right. Well, here we are 3 years in. You're seeing a lot of turmoil within the game, and financials are changing rapidly.
Yes.
Right. So now you don't have that union there to back you. And a lot of those bylaws that you were living by have kind of expired, in the sense that most of these first time contracts are probably done after the player option or team option, depending on what they had.
Which,
like,
for all
those
be
have
it
expired.
overpaid, right? In the first, and that's the thing, is like, when you signed contracts for year 1 and 2, Overwatch was booming. Overwatch League was booming. It was setting
People
records.
were paying $25 million for a roster slot.
Yeah, I mean, it was at the peak. And now, after the 3rd season, viewership is struggling. Obviously, outside factors involved, and say what you want, whatever.
It might be hard to get 25,000 now.
Absolutely. So now when you're looking at these rosters where, OGE, what's OGE asking, right? In his head, he's worth a lot more than what he probably is on paper. So I get why they're cutting roster, overseason, overpaid.
I think another part to that is not just cutting costs in terms of like, let's drop the roster for the next 4 months, 5 months to save money, but also I'm assuming they're going to trim down the number of players teams have on an active roster. Where prior we saw teams running 8-9 plus players, being able to sub in almost a second full lineup in some cases. I see that you're basically going to play with just your starting roster, and they need to be versatile enough with different characters to fill those voids, right? Instead of like, oh, we need to have 8 players deep. Like, that doesn't seem financially feasible for teams to do that, especially with a minimum salary amount. Like, you can't go, even if you're paying 60, 70, 80K for a guy that is probably worth like 40 or 50, you don't want to do that for an 8th or 9th slot anymore, and
Right.
so that could be another reason of like dumping, rebuilding to now stay profitable, and figuring out, what kind of money do we have to do this within for it to make sense.
And this is where I think the league would be smart in, because they all of a sudden kind of like starting to talk about their contenders. Like, you see it on the Blizzard launcher and that stuff. Like, they're actually advertising Overwatch League contenders, after 3 seasons of doing it. Go figure. They need to allow these guys to sign sister teams. It doesn't have to be a fully functioning contender team that Envy is running. It just has to be a team like New York Subliners did with Triumph for Call of Duty, where it's just like, look, you're a separate org, we're a separate org, but we're going to sign an agreement that we can have players be on two-way contracts. And if we have to send a guy down and call one up, we can do that without, real negotiation going on. That's what the Overwatch League needs. They need to have those sister teams, so that way a team could get away with having 6, maybe 7 people, and if they have to shuffle or call people up because, hey, it's a long season, maybe some guy needs a break 1 week or whatever, you can do that without having to have a 7th or 8th guy on your roster making, 50,000 or however it may be, right? I think that's something that they could take advantage of. But obviously, with the extended offseason and everything, you have no idea where the mindset is of the orgs. I'm sure this season kind of left a bad taste in their mouth. There is, though, Anuj, one silver lining of all of this. One glimmering hope. The White Knight. Gandalf coming over the mountain to fight the gates of Gondor? Mordor? But that wasn't the castle that Gandalf went over the mountain to fight.
Oh, yeah. Keep going.
There's some Lord of the Rings fan yelling at us right now for not knowing.
I feel it over my shoulder.
I am disappointed that I don't know that.
Yeah.
I want everyone to know that we are deeply...
Well, like, I've watched Fellowship of the Ring like 1,000 times, but I haven't really seen the other 2 nearly as many. Like, is that true for most people? I feel, I don't know. Like, I've watched Fellowship of the Rings literally 1,000 times. Like, it's even a great sleeping movie for me. But the other 2, like, I've watched sporadic. I've seen them both, obviously, in their entirety, but it's not like ones that
if I watch one, I have to see the others. It's hard for me just to watch one Lord of the Rings and be like, well, I guess this is it. This is all I needed. I got to watch them all. But this is probably
you should know, Tim.
Well, I didn't say I've seen them all 1,000 times. I've probably seen them all a couple times. So our apologies to Lord of the Rings people, because I know someone is yelling at us right now that we don't know. Helm's Deep. I think it's Helm's Deep. That sounds right. I think Gandalf came over the mountain as the White Wizard.
Yeah, because they backed everybody up into the castle.
Yes, 99% sure that's Helm's Deep. I think we redeemed ourselves. High five. They have their Gandalf moment, because Flower, we all remember him. New York, season 1, he was too young to play for the whole time. Rookie extraordinaire. Was supposed to be this DPS god, but never really got to bloom, if you will. Earlier this year announced that he is retiring from Overwatch to go play Valorant professionally in Korea. He's coming back. He has announced that he is officially looking for an Overwatch League team or contenders. He's willing to go to contenders, and he is back. If the Overwatch League was smart, they need to make a shrine for this kid. They need to have him on talk shows in Korea. This is their one source of light for this year of Overwatch.
I mean, it only becomes a good thing if he signs with the pro team. If he comes back and he signs with the contenders team, like, that's not...
I mean, look at all the free roster spots. You got like 3 or 4 teams with absolutely no players.
Well, somebody's going to take a chance on him because he's young enough, right? Like, you still feel like you can...
Well, yeah, I mean, at this point, he's only like 19, maybe 20.
Yeah, like, I mean, not the best look for him to announce you're leaving one game, go to another, and then just to drop that and come back. But look, I mean, it's not the worst thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing that he's coming back. The Overwatch League. I think the more silver lining is that all these roster drops are keeping Overwatch relevant into the off season. Outside of this happening, we're probably not talking about Overwatch until the season kind of starts back up and we know what they're doing, at least from region standpoint. Like, it would take some pretty large announcement to find your way back onto the main stage here, right? And so this is another positive in the sense you've created some roster controversy. I think it's all going to depend on how it's yeah, how you spin it right now. Like, why are you doing this? What kind
Right.
of rosters are formed off of it?
And honestly,
Um,
depending on who you ask in the community, you'll probably get two different answers on to why.
no, you will. You will, because there's too many haters out there for Overwatch. So you're gonna have the foil hat people that are out there not just drawing up conspiracies, but it's always gonna be negative about Overwatch, regardless of when they were doing good, when they were doing bad. There's just like a huge group of Overwatch haters out there. I think most of that stems from the CS community for the most part, but that's a different topic. It's just for Overwatch, yeah, there's definitely going to be two sides to how they spin it. I think they can come out of this looking okay, but I do think it's going to be recycling these guys onto different rosters. Ultimately, what's going to happen? I think we're just going to see smaller rosters, and you try to define it more with the starting roster. Um, that may be a bad look, but it's understandable until they do something with the game, Tim. Like give you reason to believe that it's like on the up and up or coming back in some way. I don't blame any of these orgs right now for finding a way to cut costs. Like I really can't. The only fault that they had was jumping in at the price that they did. But look, Blizzard was a great salesperson. Like they did an amazing job of selling them on the hopes and dreams of this game, and then unfortunately gave the dev team too much control and it killed itself. So I don't blame any of these owners for doing what they're doing, but I don't know if this is going to be like an exciting roster season. This is just going to be like I feel like a recycling of players with one or two names, popping up from contenders. Or if you see a lot of contenders' names, it's a price issue. Like they're just bringing in cheap individuals to fill gaps here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I somewhat agree. I think you're going to see this is more or less I would not call a roster. Maybe I called it a roster dump. That's not right. This is going to be a roster recycle.
Yeah.
So I think when this is all said and done, you are going to see a lot of the same familiar faces, just mixed up a little bit. So there you have it. Like Anuj said, that's probably going to be the last time we talk about Overwatch League for a while. But hey, maybe not. Maybe I didn't think we were going to talk about him again so soon. So I guess you never know. Never know. Let's move on though to some Valorant discussion. We did have the Renegades Nerd Street Gamers Valorant event over the weekend, and Anuj, what did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we had some surprises, right? I think what a lot of people were looking forward to seeing um, was like T1, for example, right? There was a lot of speculation about what is this roster going to look like. They're finally put five together. What are we seeing here? Um, Obviously, I don't think it really panned out the way they wanted to. I mean, obviously they didn't win it, so you can never say it panned out the way they wanted it to necessarily. But a little disappointing in terms of their first game was against Time In. Okay, for those of you that are asking, who the hell is Time In? Time In is Ninja Streaming Squad, a group of content creators that were able to play in this tournament, which is fine. I had no issue with that, but it's a team that they should like destroy. I feel like absolutely destroy because that is a team that's not practicing. Ninja, yes, I'm sure these guys are all playing, but they're not playing as like a unit consistently. They barely scraped by them 13-11. They did beat Raccoons, who actually played well and qualified in the playoffs and kind of made a little bit of noise for themselves, even winning their quarterfinals matchup. They did beat them, and then they fell to who did they fall to? Immortals.
Free agent squad too, though. Moon Raccoons. Free agent squad.
Yeah, not like signed by any big orb. Immortals also should have been a team that I felt they got O2'd by them. But Immortals, if you remember, Tim, they just dropped like most of their roster. I shouldn't say dropped. Their roster got taken by other teams, right? So that is a roster that looks nothing like they looked at the beginning of the Valorant season since the game launched. Like it looks drastically different. They fell both maps. I believe they were both 13-11, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. I think they were both 13-11. So for T1, a little bit of a disappointing start, but like so fresh. I thought it was cool to see Dazed out there. We talked about him. Again, Ska was great. I guess the time off helped. Like he played fairly well in this event. And
What
nice
was
to
his
see
hero
him
pool?
back.
That's all I care about.
I think he played on Jet most of the time. Um, in fact, I would want to say 100% of the time, but I can't confirm that. But he played on Jet a majority of the time. And so, yeah, he played her, he played her well. I think that really was a reason for his layoff was having to practice on Jet because it was obvious Jet was the agent that you needed to be in order to be the highest level sniper in the game, right? And early on, he was playing Sage. He was playing, I don't know if it was Brimstone or Breach, maybe, but he wasn't playing a ton of Jet. I think a lot of that time off was to get used to her because she is a unique play style. She can be very aggressive. She can play the op really well passively with the dash
See, that's
ability.
my thing
So
with Jet. That's what makes Jet so difficult, in my opinion, is it doesn't make any sense, but it's true, is you have to play her aggressively passive. Like, you have to be aggressive, but at the same time, be very passive in the sense of, like, you don't entry frag with her. But you can, but you just have to also know to be, like, you got to get out at the same time.
like she has the ability to do things that just really no other agent can come close to, right? Like in terms of her movement abilities within a small space, she can, one that can really have you looking all over your screen, like where the hell did she just go? Like you can literally lose her, and it's yeah. But again, he played well on her, and I think that was a good sign. Other big takeaways from this, in terms of who stood out, obviously Anbox. They won it all. They have their new roster, a roster made up of a bunch of CS players from Android, Yay, Seb, Poach, who is a phenomenal Fortnite player. So you have this Fortnite guy joined with the CS guys, and they crushed it. They
For their
did. They
first
dropped.
real tournament, too, as a
Yeah,
team.
it dropped. I think just one map the whole tournament. And I can go back and tell you to confirm that. Yeah, they dropped one map the whole tournament. And that was to Moon Raccoons, and even Immortals took them to the brink a little bit there in the finals. That's who they played against in the finals. Spoiler alert. But Immortals took them to overtime on one map. Anbox had a huge lead on that map and kind of dropped it. I think it was what was it, Split that it happened on, which was weird to see Split in a best of three. Like you just think that would be the third map, but it was the second map. But yeah, for Inbox, like really good first showing. These guys, you know, Android and these guys just came out to play. Like Android was a monster in this event for them. So yeah, I mean, I think overall, I liked it. I was happy to see Overwatch back again, Tim, or not Overwatch, Valorant back again. Like it felt like it had been a while since we had a Valorant event. Um, and so it really was like I was watching Valorant like over Counter Strike this weekend. Like I wasn't sitting there watching NACS. I was watching the Valorant matches. So I was happy to see it back.
One thing that I always love about these invitational tournaments ran by orgs is when the org that is hosting goes 0-2. And it doesn't really matter who. It could be a Cloud9 invitational, but when it happened to FaZe, now it's happened to Renegades, it's really just a chef's kiss moment when
So
the hosting org gets bounced early.
a little bit more salt in the wound for them because they were both to orgless teams. They lost to Moon Raccoons in the first round, and then Ninja eliminated them in the
That
lower
would be
round.
the ultimate low. When you get
That would be.
eliminated by Ninja's team, who's there for the sole purpose to advertise his new Adidas shoe, I think it's Adidas, that's a yikes. That's a yikes
Yeah.
in itself right there. When you lose to a advertising campaign, not a good look.
Yeah,
Not a
no,
good look.
not at all. That's not how you want to go out. FaZe Clan also a little bit of a tough showing for them. They did make playoffs at least, but they got smacked 2-0 by Cloud9. Want to see them kind of step up. I said they got smacked. The game's relatively close, but I want to see them kind of go a little bit deeper into these because that is the whole Overwatch squad, I think, except for Marv, if I'm not mistaken, on that roster. And so, I kind of root for them a little bit in that sense because it is, you know, unique in a world of a bunch of Counter Strike pros or washed up Counter Strike pros or former Counter Strike pros, whichever they are. Um, it's kind of fun to have that one Overwatch team in there, and you root for them a little bit. But yeah, they at least made playoffs. Got knocked out by Cloud9, who then lost to Immortals. Overall, good event. You know, and Box stepping up for their first event. This is going to have them riding high. Remember, we did not have like Dignitas, we did not have TSM, we did not have Sentinels. I don't believe Envy was in this event
No.
either, and they had played well here as of late. Now they've made changes too, so it'll be curious to see what they look like. So we were missing a lot of teams, but I didn't feel like we missed out on a good event. Like overall, I thought Nerd Street and Renegades put on a good show for us.
And speaking of Valorant esports, we actually did get an announcement today. So not all is lost with my power going out last night. We did get to have some more up-to-date news, but Riot has announced First Strike's North American schedule. Looks like the first qualifier will be October 26th. So,
and this is like a 128 team tournament, and everybody has to qualify. Okay, there are no invite spots for these events. I love that. It almost feels like third world COD, that used to go on where everybody had to like work their way up through group play, and so I'm excited for this because some teams are going to really surprise us, and I think we'll see most of the top dogs in there. But there's definitely going to be some upsets in this type of format. There's just no way that only the top teams make it through because we don't really know who the top teams are. We'll get into more about that next week in terms of top teams and rankings and all that. But yeah, I'm excited for that because it's.
Well, there's still so many unknown factors with Valorant, right? Like you think Sentinels are number one, right? You think TSM and Sentinels rival NA number one, but there's still so many unknowns. As we just said, like there's so many free agent teams still out there or orgs signing free agents and things like that. Like there's still too many unknown factors where you could have the team of quote unquote no names come in and beat FaZe or whoever. So it's still out there.
This event was the perfect event to show you that. So if you want to take our word for it or not, go look at some of the teams that made it to the playoffs, right? Moon Raccoon, Mamba Mode, a new Immortals roster. This is a second roster for them. Ninja Squad team was able to pull out a win against a pro team. Try that in any other long-term esport that we've had. It doesn't happen, and it's because it's undefined in Valorant right now. Like we think we know who the best are because we're basing that off of who teams are signing, but really it's super wide open. There are going to be a lot of names that surprise you. By the time Riot goes into franchising, I think there's going to be a lot of names that were not here from day one that we've been talking about for the first 6 months of the game.
Yeah, definitely. So with the Ignition series kicking off, we'll be able to watch a little bit more of that. Also, just so we can kind of bridge these topics here, one of the also reasons that I heard Flower might be ditching Valorant to go back to Overwatch League is still in Korea, Overwatch is just the dominating game. I don't know if that's true. This might be the number one esports podcast, but I'd be lying to you if I said I kept up with the Korean esports news scene. So
that could also be something that's like just happening right now, right? Because like I'm sure Overwatch is more flushed out in that scene. The money going around right now in NA and EU is pretty crazy. That might not be the case in every single region.
Right. That's what I said. Specifically Korea, which is obviously where he wants to play.
Give it time, and I think, Overwatch in the Asian market will also, take off. I think it just needs to be fleshed out a little bit more before that really happens, but we're already seeing these regions produce what we would consider top teams in the world. So I think it's just a matter of time.
Speaking of matter of time, it was only a matter of time until we got to some e-news. So let's knock it out.
Weird doing e-news so early into the show, it feels like, right? It feels weird.
That's what happens when a power outage. By the way, the power outage, for those who don't know, if you want to know the backstory, we're sitting here doing the show live. All of a sudden, my room, my house, because we record at night, pitch black. I just put up blackout curtains like a week ago. So my office is even more pitch black. And it was like city, like power, the street lights, traffic lights, everything out. It was like an apocalypse.
Crim 6 is the only one that was prepared for that scenario.
It
With
was
his $22,000 night vision goggles that he has.
it was crazy. And I mean, it was out for almost 4 hours. It went out around 9:15 my time, and it didn't come back until just about 1 a.m. So it was funny enough, is it came back right when I started taking like some of the groceries, because we just went grocery shopping. So I was like, all right, I'll call my parents up and take some milk over to their house or whatever, some baby stuff so they don't spoil. As soon as I get to my parents' house, my wife calls me, hey, turn back around, the power's back. I was like, of course. Of course it is. Why? How come the power and internet always knows to die when I don't have to work?
Yeah, like, why couldn't that happen at 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
Like, have you ever noticed that? Like,
Yeah.
the internet always dies on like a Saturday. It's never in the middle of a day where it's like I wouldn't mind if my power was out for 4 hours on like maybe a middle of a Monday. Why do you gotta do that on a Sunday night as
Every
I'm
time.
gearing up
Every-
to
or
game?
like a snow day happens on a Saturday. It's like
Yeah.
just as bad as that. It's like, are you serious? Today, the one time we get snow in Texas, it's a Saturday.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like, give me a break.
did you say Bravo 6 going dark when everything shut off?
No, I didn't. Like I said, I probably shit myself when it went dark. So, all I know is like I couldn't find my phone. I mean, it was black. Like I couldn't see my own hand in front of my face, and I was just searching for my phone. So, I don't. Maybe it's I'm watching too much of The Boys, but like I instantly think someone's breaking into the house, and I'm about to murder someone. But that's my life. All right, let's get into some actual e-news here, though. And you know what's also weird? It's like this is only Monday, but because we normally do the show on Sundays, all this looks like such old news now. Because I know the episode's not coming out till Tuesday, but we ride the ship. All right, we don't.
There's more news on here at least.
We
because
added
of
some,
that.
yes, but you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like it just feels so old.
Yeah.
Furia ended up defeating 100 Thieves 3-1 at the IEM New York NA Finals. Stay hard to 100 Thieves. This was their last event for CS:GO. So you know what? For your last outing, getting second place against Furia at IEM New York, not a bad way. Not a bad way to go. LMBT's ban has been lifted by the ESIC, as he provided evidence to show he was doing an on-air work for one of the games in question, and the other two he let the admins know immediately and left in a good enough time, right? I think that was the also kicker, is that he removed himself from the situation, I think is how the wording was. So he's obviously now the coach of Forza, who has been performing well as of recent. So it is good to see, because these bans seemed so harsh at the start. It's good to see that they're willing to work with these coaches and be like, okay, not every ban or not every cheater is created equal. You know, like robbing a bank and robbing a chocolate bar, yes, they're both stealing, but not really the same. So I'm glad that ESIC is kind of going back and giving these guys somewhat of the time.
You want me to do the next one?
Yeah, you could do the next couple.
Joaquim from 100 Thieves signs with Apex GG, and if you know, this is a big deal because I feel like he would have had or did have multiple offers from big teams to go play for. He's been an amazing talent for them, and he's played on top level teams before, including FaZe previously. But this is a Norwegian team, so this is him going back home, saying he wants to help build the scene in his country, and so I think that's really cool. He is joining Dennis. For those of you that remember Dennis from Fnatic and Nip, and like it just has time in the Swedish scene. Dennis is on that team too, but that's kind of an interesting signing because he still has stuff left in the tank, and this is the route he chose to go. So I rock on for him. That's all I can say. I think that's pretty neat.
I had no idea Dennis was still playing.
Yeah, he's playing with them. So I think it's a cool little lineup. A little intrigued to see how they do. We'll keep our eye on them. HLTV was recently acquired by Better Collective. I think this was for roughly like what, $34 million, Tim, like an insane amount. And once again, conflict of interest rises its head in esports in kind of a nasty way. And we'll see how this affects it. I mean, maybe we save this for more of a topic down the line if it does become an issue, but to give you all a little idea of what we're talking about, Better Collective has multiple ownership groups within it. One of them being some people from Astralis' ownership group. That reason this becomes a conflict of interest is if you are an owner of a team and you also own the news site that gives you the truest standings.
If you're an owner of a team that is public owned, like they're on the stock exchange,
like they have the ability, not saying that they would do this, but this is where it becomes an issue, is they have the ability to make themselves higher on the rankings, to have a better valuation and make it, more lucrative for potential investors. The good thing is Astralis is still the best freaking team in the world, so he doesn't have to mess with that right now. But again, there's several things that can come up here within a
bearing controversial stories, writing fluff pieces, right? Like things like this can all happen. Again, that's all
interviewing your players more often than other teams play. Like there's a lot that could happen here. If you really want to dive into this before Tim and I ever talk about it, go check out some of Thorin's tweets recently. Obviously, he went on a novel style rant about this, and you could probably get
Thorin did?
Thorin did.
That doesn't sound like Thorin.
And very unlike him, for sure. But he decided to step into the public eye and take it upon himself to let the world know what's going on. So you can go check out his tweets. It'll give you a better idea of what's going on there.
I'm thinking about renaming our esports podcast to just Conflict of Interest. I feel like people would know it's an esports podcast if it's called that. Nothing in Overwatch, as we discussed a lot during the show. In Valorant, though, little scary scenario for Sinatra here. A lot of people on Reddit and Twitter kind of making fun of him, downplaying the scenario here. As someone with bad vision, like this could honestly be terrifying. Sinatra had damaged his right eye in a workout accident. He was using resistance bands and it slipped off his foot and smacked him in the eye. As he was temporarily blind, he said, completely blind in that eye for roughly 2 hours. Doctors expect him to make a full recovery.
That's a long time. Like 5 minutes would have felt like a long time.
Yeah.
Right? Like 2 hours feels like an eternity in that situation. I'm definitely glad he's okay. I'm sure him with one eye is still better than most of y'all with two. So don't worry too much, but he will make a full recovery, and thankfully, because that would have been devastating.
Word on the street is if he were blind in his right eye, he was just going to go play tank again in Overwatch, because you only need one eye for that. just play Reinhardt, put your shield up, and swing your hammer. You don't need to aim
Still
with that.
Would have been MVP probably.
Yeah. In Call of Duty news, reports are coming in that the league won't allow Hex and the Huntsmen to change their branding to Chicago Optic, or whatever they would call it. That now it's being rumored that Hex will most likely keep the Optic team in LA, like the league is telling him he needs to, and NRG will take that spot. So then NRG now will be selling the Chicago Huntsman branding and the Chicago slot. So all in all, same but different. Like not a whole lot more news other than I guess now we know the league doesn't want the Optic branding leaving LA.
Yeah, which changes makes maybe a little bit more sense as to why 100 Thieves wouldn't be as interested now. I would think, assuming they would. I know they've kind of stepped away from the rumors and said, no, we're not doing it. But it would have made more sense if they could have had the LA spot, considering that's where their home base is. I don't think it's too surprising if this were to happen, in the sense that that the league does not want them changing the name of a team, right? Like I understand the league side here, and
Like
so
we just had one. Do you know how many posters we've made of LA Optic? Like, guys, come on.
It makes more sense for Hex to do what they're doing if the league is coming down with this ruling, because
Yes.
to bring the Optic brand
Well,
back, move these players over to that roster, it's huge.
and not even
huge
just for
news
Hex,
the
though.
league.
It makes more sense on Andy Miller's part. Remember, Hex might have been the one who bought back Optic. Andy Miller is the bro right now, because Andy Miller is the one who's like, look, I will use NRG's team slot for the Optic branding that you bought. Like that, he's being the bro right now in the situation.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Miller's kind of been a bro this whole time, right? Bringing Hex on as a co-CEO. Good move in terms of business
course.
strategy also.
Well, it's also
But, like,
keeping Optic is the best move for business too.
yeah, like that's just a big thing for a CEO to be like, hey, I'm going to let you share this spot with me.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's a big move. And so Andy's kind of been a bro all along, and you know, look, he's a smart businessman, and this makes the most business sense.
Yep. So, and who knows what happens with the players in Chicago? Lots of theories going around of maybe they're not right. Scump and all them won't be with Optic
Oh, they will be with Scump will be with
for
Optic.
like a season. Maybe
No,
they won't
he
be.
will be with Optic from day one. There's no way Hex leaves them behind.
Yeah. So, regardless, something is going to happen.
Hex needs to keep his COD friends, right? He already lost Crim6 and them last year with the whole debacle there. There's no way he lets Scump go. Like, no way.
In League of Legends news, we have some world updates here as the first round of playoffs have finished up. Fnatic loses to Top Esports in a close 3-2. Esports obviously being the favorites going into the event to start with. Suning, I believe that's how you say that, as now I'm a League of Legends expert, who has played one bot match. Thank you very much. Suning eliminates JD Gaming 3-1.
Let's just
Damwon?
call Kevin real quick. You think he's sleeping?
Yeah, for real. Who just had a kid. We can call him anytime we want. He's not sleeping. Damwon Gaming moves on defeating DRX 3-0 and G2 sweeping Gen G. Guess what, Anuj? In my bracket pick'em challenge, I would have been 100%. In fact, I think I'm leading the listeners in points. So, let's...
You would have been 100% if what didn't happen.
I'm committed to the bit that G2 sucks. So I always pick them to lose.
Oh, it's too early to pick them to lose. You have to wait for the finals there.
See, I thought this was going to be their G2 moment where they just dominate groups and then...
It would have made sense because they did, they swept, which is their opportunity to get reverse swept usually.
Exactly. Exactly. So
yeah, I think it was you're a stage or two too early there.
I'm committed to the bit, so that screwed up my perfect picks. But hey, worth it in the end. Not world news, but still League of Legends. Tyler 1 has been signed to T1, more of a content creation and part of the org rather than a player side.
Big signing.
Yeah. I don't like Tyler 1, but that's only because I find him annoying. I don't have any...
He's a rager, like he's...
Yeah, like I get his appeal to some people, why they enjoy watching him. It's not my cup of tea when I'm watching someone on Twitch, but I definitely understand, I'm happy for him, especially because he's been banned before and how he's kind of been welcomed back even by Riot into the League community with open arms. Cool. Whatever. Valve and Dota news. Valve has been reportedly invited to host the International in China and has also declined it. So I guess we could have had an International this year or sometime soon, but they don't want it to happen in China.
They only did that because they didn't want the CS community literally at Gabe's house willing to beat him with a bat that they were canceling the major. And
could you imagine?
If they had done that, dude, I'm telling you, like, that would have been the last straw for a lot
Valve
of people.
was like, we put all of our resources into figuring out how to do the TI as the majors just sitting out there in the rain. Like, what the hell? What about me? What about me? Anuj, maybe we can discuss this more at a later time. But Blizzard has announced the end of major development, or major developmental updates, I should say, for StarCraft 2.
I wish we had a soundbite for this because that's sad. I mean, to me, this is like, yeah, that's the one that actually it feels so good. No, it's sad because of like the amount that StarCraft has done for the esports scene. Unfortunately, will go unnoticed by most of this generation of gamers, right? Like the boomer gamers all know what StarCraft meant to the scene. This generation of gamers don't, and the reason being is Blizzard has done nothing with that IP in like 10 years, and so it's Blizzard being Blizzard. I mean, that's all I can really say about that. It's sad to see. I'm glad ESL still has a contract with it for the next 2 years to run some esports events, so it's not disappearing from the landscape yet. But it will. Like that's ultimately what's going to happen here. It will, and so yeah. I would love to see Blizzard do something with the IP, but I have zero faith in them.
It's one of those scenarios where Blizzard is saying there's not enough interest to do it, and then it's also where the players are saying, well, there's no interest because you're not making interest, right? If you're not making it interesting, people aren't going to be interested in playing it. It's a catch-22. It's a rock in a hard place. It's an RTS in 2020. You know,
but nobody's really tried to do it.
I know.
Last, like, 8 years. Can you name an RTS that's come out where it's like they're really like giving it? I mean, no one's really done it.
Kids these days. Maybe we'll table this. Maybe we'll table this for maybe next Wednesday or slow. Maybe this Thursday episode when it's slow and we can talk about this. Kids these days do not know or don't understand the domination that RTS has had in the esports world at one point in time. It would blow, if you're new to esports or if you're younger in the gaming demo, it would blow your mind on how popular and how esports wouldn't be what it is today if it wasn't for RTSs, what people now refer to as like a boring ass game.
Can I give the listeners some homework real quick while we're doing this then?
Absolutely.
While we're on this topic. Guys, if you have the ability to do so, highly urge you to go get Xbox Game Pass. Do the 3-month little demo thing that they allow you to do for, I believe, $1 a month for the first 3 months. Set a reminder to cancel it if you don't want to play it again. Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition or High Def Edition or whatever you want to call it just came out like 2 or 3 days ago. I loaded it up the other day. Looks absolutely gorgeous. Just touch it. Just see what it is. Like, step into those shoes because that's really a special category that unfortunately died off, I think, due to like developer incompetence. Like nobody stepped up to kind of help push it forward, and FPS became the new exciting thing because graphics became better and you were able to do more. But yeah, Tim's right. That's like really the godfather of esports when we talk about RTS games, StarCraft in particular. But go try that out. You know, if you need help getting into it, let me know. I know the basics. Like I've played the game a lot before. I'm not great or anything, but I would love to play with any of y'all that want to, you know, put a weekend night towards it ideally. But yeah, check it out. For $1, you can download the game. You can see what it's about. It looks gorgeous. If you have an ultra wide, it looks phenomenal.
So let's say this. Let's say we'll look at the calendar, but this weekend we might be able to make it happen because I actually never played Age of Empires. I was always a StarCraft.
Oh, I love the game. So Age of Empires 2 was like what I call my golden years. So I would definitely be down to
StarCraft was actually the first game. Brood War was the first game that like I really like joined a quote unquote team for. We were all like fire related names. I think I was like flamethrower or some shit. I don't remember, but crazy. So hopefully, you know, I haven't heard any rumors of a StarCraft 3 anywhere down the line. They still got to come out with Diablo Immortals for the phone. So who knows what's happening with StarCraft and Blizzard, but hopefully this isn't the end.
I would love to see Dreamhaven, that new company started by ex-Blizzard people, remake all of these games and just give it a different name. But take every idea that you put together and just call it something different.
Easy.
Do it for the people. Do it for the people.
Easy. Speaking of homework, we're gonna do another documentary here probably in like the next week or so. So if you have good esports documentaries that you want us to review or watch and discuss on the show, hit us up on Twitter or in Discord at the Center Ring on Twitter, and I think we have a few, but I'll have to follow up with people on who gave us suggestions. So let's do that. If there's a good RTS documentary, a good StarCraft documentary, that would be nice. A new esports org alert. Sound the alarm. Team Diverge has now broken the scene. They are, quote, the world's first athlete-led gaming, entertainment, and lifestyle company. One of its founding partners being Juju Smith of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also on my fantasy team. Also the biggest waste of sack of potatoes you could have on your fantasy team. He sucks, and I hope this esports org fails.
That's the fantasy Tim talking. No, it's cool for Juju because he's been so heavily involved in esports for like really since his entrance into the NFL. We've seen him be a part of like a lot of stuff that FaZe has done previously, and you know he enjoys it. So like the more the merrier. I'm always down for people that want to come in and support, unless you're David Beckham who's getting paid $20 million to do so. Like Juju has a real passion for it. Those are the people you want to see involved, right? Like I look at him like I would look at like a Rick Fox type scenario, like somebody that truly enjoys it and is doing it for a reason. Rick Fox more for his kid. Juju, is the kid with the money in this case. So cool to see.
Don't you also love, though, that they can just say that they're the world's first athlete-led gaming, entertainment, and lifestyle company?
I'm sure there's another one.
Like Rick Fox?
Yeah. Well, but like in general, like if we even want to say active players, I know there's other active players that are involved with esports.
It's just one
of
those
founding partner, maybe that's
just a fun aspect in life, especially in esports. People just like to say they're the first in anything.
We are the number one.
We are, though, the number one esports podcast. That is a fact. French streamers and French gaming community has raised $6.7 million for charity for the Amnesty International. For those who don't know, according to Google, that is a non-governmental group that focuses on human rights.
Take it. Hopefully money's going to the right place.
I don't know what that necessarily means, but that's what it is. This weekend through Zvent 2020, it was the biggest charity stream in Twitch history with 600,000 plus concurrent viewers. 6.7 million. That is a lot of money for charity, which is why we bring it up on the show. So congratulations to end the show on a happy note. GG to everyone involved there. All right. Well, that will do it. Officially. The official ending. No power outage required of the Center Ring esports podcast presented by Alt, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast. This was episode 281. Thank you so much for listening. Again, homework reminders. Xbox Game Pass on the PC has the Age of Empires Definitive Edition, 3 Age of Empires Trace. On Xbox Game Pass, I think Anuj is right. It's like typically only like for your first time, it's like $1. I might also have a code. So if you've never had it before, let me know. And I might have a code that will work for you to get a month or 3 months for free. Hit me up. This weekend we'll play some. Anuj, you will teach me the game. Because I'm a sucker. I want to play some RTS. I'm okay dedicating a Friday night to an RTS. Maybe
and you make custom games on there and just kind of mess around. Even if it's versus bots, it's like it's fun.
Yeah, it's relaxing. It's fun. I'm down. I want that. I need that. Also, what we also need is documentary suggestions for esports for our documentary series that we talk about on the show. So hit us up for that as well. But until next time, I'm Tim for Anuj. We'll see ya.